And we're live.
Heyo!
Welcome back.
It's me, ya boy, Dylan.
And I'm Jake. And this is Too Scared to Sleep.
Lit.
A paranormal and true crime and all things scary podcast. Coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas.
Except we're not live because you'll be hearing this days after we've recorded it.
Maybe not. Okay, yeah, so I feel like we should talk about the things that we talk about, like, hey, what have you been doing this week? But we meet and see each other so often.
I know. And for our first couple episodes, we're all doing this, within, the same week.
Hours.
Yeah. We did this exact thing yesterday.
Like, we should have just slept here.
We probably should have.
Only if I get to be the big spoon.
No.
I can't take people breathing down my neck.
No, you would not be near me.
That would be the worst part about being haunted. I'd be like, look, come into the house, move some stuff around, hide my keys, but if you breathe down my neck, I swear to Christ, I will shoot myself just so that I can become a ghost and come and kick your ass, because I can't take the breathing down my neck.
Really? Okay.
No, I
did not know that was
can never be the small spoon.
I didn't know that was a thing of yours.
It
Everyone likes to be Little Spoon. It makes them feel safe. Annabelle is nodding in agreement.
I don't like to be the small spoon.
Okay, keep telling yourself
I'm too
that.
big to be a small spoon, but whatever.
You're like a ladle.
Right. We were just watching a scary movie, actually. Scary, but predictable.
As most of them are. But it's still a good movie.
I guess so.
It's good. It gets better. We have half an hour left of it. We have the entire third act left.
I would love to talk the next 20 minutes just about how George Romero set up the survival horror genre, and it's just like there's a formula to it, and the movie that we were just watching is obviously following the formula.
Yeah, well, most of them do, and we could potentially do an episode just about that.
The poor black guy died first, of course.
Spoiler alert, even though they don't know what movie we're talking
Exactly.
about.
I mean, that could be, and the other problem is that, like I said, the survival horror genre is so prevalent that could be that could be like at least 20 movies right
honestly
there.
And it's not even like applying just to horror movies, because spoiler alert, the movie Chronicle, black guy dies first.
Spoiler alert. Did you ever see Deep Blue Sea?
No.
Okay, well, there's a part there. Samuel L. Jackson is in this movie. Of course, he's in
Wait a minute, is that the one where the shark jumps? Yeah.
He says, first thing we need to do is we need to seal off this water, this water pathway. It's like it's not a door, but it's, anyway. And of course,
to water.
The shark comes right up and kills him, just like that.
Yeah, I've seen that clip.
And it's like, of course it did. You just said we needed to seal it off. Anyway, but
it's some bullshit.
Survival horror genre, well played out, extremely predictable, and yet we're still, we'll watch the movie.
Because they're good movies.
Are they?
Some of them.
Some of them are.
Sometimes. Anyway, as much as I would love to keep this going, we are not here to talk about survival horror and the racist undertones.
Are we talking about seasonal allergies?
Well,
I'm
you
still
are.
talking about
You're still talking about it, because not much has changed in 24 hours.
I feel horrible. I hate it so much.
Me too.
What I hate is that you have to have a valid driver's license to get the good medicine at Walgreens.
Really?
Yes, they will check it.
That's kind of dumb.
It's ridiculous. It really is. You guys are looking at me like I'm making this up, but it's so true. If you want Claritin D or Allegra D or any of those ones that have the Dismexathefferrich,
so they got to check your ID if you want the D?
Yes, you have to. You have to check your ID if you want the D.
That's a good rule for young adults going out into any sort of party scene.
Hashtag
always check the ID.
Hashtag age of consent.
Hashtag age of consent.
There you go. But anyway, yeah, seasonal allergies suck.
Yes, they do.
Central Texas sucks because
yes,
of
it
seasonal
does.
allergies. All right, so let's talk about the Enfield Poltergeist.
Ooh,
This is mine.
Yes, I want you to start.
Haunted houses and this kind of paranormal activity are just
the best.
Yes, so near and dear to me because grew up in a house where a lot of paranormal, spooky activity happened. Grew up, my dad is a preacher, and we lived for 9 years at this particular parsonage, which is the house next to the church that's built by the church for the preacher. We lived in a parsonage that was haunted We lived, next door to a church that was haunted.
That's so cool.
Yes, it is. It's so scary. So many stories I could tell you. So some of them are just like, some of them are real quick stories. Others are like, I have this one story that requires a diagram in order to be able to successfully tell this story. So eventually what is going to happen, we'll do an origin episode.
Oh, yes.
And I will tell this story. And you'll know this story's coming up because I'll post it on Instagram. A hastily drawn diagram of the church and the house and different rooms, because in order to be able to tell this story effectively, I have to have that visual aid to be able to present to you, our listeners, so that you can understand how spooky this experience was.
We should do a video and get some whiteboard or large piece of paper and just point the camera at the paper and let you draw everything out and explain it.
Oh my god. Yeah, we could do that. Or we could just draw a picture. But anyway,
so.
Let's get back to the Enfield Poltergeist. Now, there's a lot of this going on. If you go onto Hulu, there's the Enfield Haunting. There are BBC articles. There's BBC documentaries. They just made The Conjuring 2 a couple of years ago that was about the Enfield Poltergeist. I did not watch The Conjuring 2.
I did, and it was good. It varied from the actual Enfield Poltergeist story, but some of it they actually kept really, really close to the story, really true to it, and it was really cool.
Right.
I love the whole, Conjuring universe, anyway.
I've heard it's great.
It is good.
Can't watch it.
Hashtag The Nun is coming out soon. Hashtag The Nun.
Too scary. Too scary for me.
Hashtag Too Scared to Sleep.
Too scared to sleep. Very much so. Anyway, the Enfield Poltergeist happened between 1977 and 1979 in Enfield, England, and it involved a particular family named the Hodgson family, particularly Margaret, who was 14 at the time, and Janet, who was 11. At the very beginning, the poltergeist activity started because the kids were reporting to their mom that their beds were shaking and there was inexplicable knocking going on in the house.
That's called your roommates having sex.
I don't know.
College.
Is that what it is?
Okay,
do they still do the tie over the door, or
I thought it was like a sock on the doorknob.
Is it a sock on the doorknob?
I think it's a sock on the doorknob.
Someone needs to be wearing a sock if there's sex being happening. Hashtag safe sex.
Hashtag safe sex.
We need to stop the hashtags. It's so annoying.
We do. I'm sorry. I started something bad.
No more hashtags. In August of 1977, the police were called because of the knocking in the bedroom, and at one point, a constable for the police department noted that a chair in one of the rooms levitated and moved towards them.
Wasn't that in the official police report?
It was in the official police report.
Oh my god.
That's right. This is a matter of public record. That the chair moved across. They even put a marble on the floor to try to see if the chair could have moved by itself in some way. But, of course, they couldn't duplicate that experience. So this went on for a couple of months, and eventually a paranormal society got involved. The Society for Paranormal Research out of London, and it sent two of its agents to investigate. These are amateur agents. Maurice Grosse and a man by the name of Guy Playfair. Now, Guy Playfair favors very heavily into the story because he was already a well-known paranormal researcher. He'd already written about paranormal research and about paranormal activity in other parts of the world. And then he ended up writing a book about the Enfield Poltergeist with the help of Maurice Grosse. These guys spent a lot of time with his family and reported that they had seen a lot of poltergeist activity, reported that they saw possession activity, but it's all met with skepticism and it's all met with criticism, and there's a lot of people who say that it was all a hoax, part of it was a hoax, a percentage of it was a hoax. Very divisive. So, lots of suspicion that the children made up a lot of the disturbances. Some of the things that they saw were that boxes flew across the room, ornaments floated midair, books mysteriously appeared and disappeared, the strange knockings on the wall. At one point, the child Janet started to speak in a strange guttural voice. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, I know a little bit about the Enfield Poltergeist. I'm going to try and let you tell the story, but...
No, go ahead.
You can find the recordings of this little girl, Janet, talking in an old man's voice. And they talk to him about, where he died, and it was really creepy, but they also talked about how he died, and he's describing what it felt like to have a brain hemorrhage.
Absolutely.
In this creepy old man voice, but it's coming from a little girl, and it's so weird, and it's so spooky to know that a little girl is saying the thing, like, saying what it felt like to have a brain aneurysm, but also hearing that voice. It's a mess. It's so creepy. You can find the recordings.
That's exactly what I was going to go for. I'm glad you brought that up, because they had it, that they have recordings of her talking about how she had a hemorrhage and then she fell asleep and died in the chair. And it's not her speaking. It's the ghost identified as Bill.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died. Just before you died and just after you died.
Days before I died, I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs.
And later on, when they went back through and look back through the records, they realized that a man named Bill had lived in that house and had died alone, and he had died of a brain hemorrhage in the particular chair in the home exactly where she had reported. There's this particular photo that is out there, one of the famous "is it a hoax, is it not a hoax" photos. It's the levitation photo.
I know which one you're talking about.
In the levitation photo, you see Janet Hodgson apparently levitating or being thrown across the room. And the thing about it is, if you look at it and if you want to believe that it's poltergeist activity, then you're going to see what you want to see. You're going to see a child being thrown up across the room, and she looks
It looks
startled.
like she's just jumping off of the bed.
Right. She looks afraid. But at the same time, if you look at it and say, oh, it was a hoax, it looks like a kid jumped across the room. Yeah. Because of the way that her legs are moving, the way that the hair is moving, and it's just like her body is not contorted. Her body looks like she's jumping.
It's still really creepy though, because the look on her face is just pure terror.
Yes.
We should post that on our Instagram if we haven't already.
I thought we did. Maybe we didn't. The only thing is that a witness outside the house reported seeing Janet levitating and being thrown across the room at a separate time. Something else that happened that was part of the skeptics' defense against this story was that the poltergeist only tended to act when it wasn't being watched. Maurice Grosse, one of the paranormal investigators, tried to say that it was smarter than they were, and that the minute you go out of the room, something happens. You could stay in one room for hours and nothing moves, and once you leave, something happens, and maybe it's just shy. Maybe it's just a shy poltergeist. But it is kind of suspicious. Poltergeist. It's suspicious.
No, yeah, it is a little bit.
Guy Playfair, Maurice Grosse were criticized for such a staunch belief. At one point, Maurice Grosse offered £1,000 to anybody who could prove that the Enfield Poltergeist was a hoax, because he believed in it so strongly. Other investigators who came into the home saw Janet hiding cameras, using a broom to knock on the first floor ceiling to try to make knocking sounds on the second floor. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, but also, like, if you're being watched that heavily by so many paranormal recorders, there's no way that you couldn't get caught doing at least the majority of the stuff. And like, there's some intense stuff that goes on with the Enfield Poltergeist. So like, there's no way these kids could have done everything that happened and not gotten caught.
That's true. I believe so. It's just like I said, it's very divisive. What do you think? I mean, you've done the research.
I have, and I have seen the interviews. I've listened to the recordings. I think that a lot of what happened was legit. I think some of it was probably just the kids messing around, but I think the majority of it is probably pretty legit. And I believe in ghosts and whatnot, So I believe in that kind of energy and stuff like that. I see no reason why it couldn't have been a real thing, at least some of it. Because, like, how do you explain a little girl talking in what is very distinctly an old man's voice, talking about what it feels like to have a brain hemorrhage?
That's true.
When I was a child, I had no idea what a brain hemorrhage was, let alone how it felt to have one and to die in a seat. And to get accurately the facts that the guy's name was Bill, the chair that he died in, how he died,
Right.
It's just wild, man.
Right. And if you look up the research, when you're trying to find out whether a person has been either using the word possessed, it always brings up this particular connotation. The idea that, oh, this person is possessed by a spirit. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're tied to a bed, spitting split pea soup at everybody with their head spinning around.
Exactly.
You know,
masturbating with the crucifix.
With the crucifix, yes, that's a horrible, horrible image. But one of the things that you see in some of the writings that I've read, a particular demonologist that I know who is a former Catholic priest, wrote a book about it. He was talking about some of the signs of demonic possession is preternatural knowledge. So if a person knows something that there's no way they can, you'll see people who are being influenced by demons suddenly know a person or know the background of a person that they've never met.
Just know details about somebody's life, even though they've only just met this person.
Exactly. I know a guy. I had the opportunity to talk to a particular guy who had gone to a ghost tour at a brothel here in Texas. And he was going through the tour. It was about halfway through, and he started to have a splitting headache on the left side of his brain, like on the left side of his head. Mm-hmm. Just the worst headache ever. And he said that it was like a ringing in his ears, and he lost his vision. It went like tunnel vision, and he couldn't see anything. And he was on the tour with some of his family members, and they looked at him and said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No, I don't feel very well. I'm going to go out to the car." So he went out to the car, and the feeling subsided. And then when they came out after the tour was over, they asked him in particular, "How did you feel? What were you going through?" And he explained his symptoms, and it really freaked them out. And he asked them, "Why is it freaking you out?" And he said, "Oh, because what you don't know, because there's no way you could have known this because you left the tour, was that once we got to the end, they said that the particular homeowner, who was also the madam of the brothel, had died from a brain aneurysm. And he was showing the signs of the brain aneurysm."
Oh my God.
As he was going through the tour.
Oh my God.
And so, I mean, that reminds me of the Enfield Poltergeist, of course.
That's horrifying.
Right. And the little girl there was no way that the little girl would have known about that. Because there was a span of time between the time that this man, Bill, had died in the home, and then her family moved into this home. Of course, any kind of haunting people always ask, or people always are like, why would you stay there? Why would you stay in that home? Well, how are you going to move?
Yeah, I mean, if you're buying a house where somebody died, then usually you get a pretty good deal on the house because nobody wants to be there.
Absolutely.
And
the murder house discount.
Exactly. And if you're not in a financial position to be able to just go buy a house whenever, or, search for your ideal home, if you have to take the deal of the murder house, then you don't have the funds to move away.
Yeah, people could spend anywhere between 5 and 10 years trying to collect the amount of money that you need just to be able to buy a house. And then you realize, like the Amityville house, that you've moved into a house where there's a horrible series of murders and that it's super haunted. And then what are you going to do? I mean, they were only able to stay there for 28 days, and then they left. And the bank that had given them the loan tried to sue them for breach of contract on that.
Yeah, so, I mean, you don't always have a lot of options,
No.
That's why, as much as you want to yell at the people on the movie, just move out of the house and call it good, you can't. Like, realistically, it's hard to just move. You can't just pack everything up real quick and run away.
Exactly. That reminds me of a personal story that I love to tell. There is a particular level of haunting that you might be able to tolerate in your life. For a while there, right after my daughter was born, probably she was born in May, so in December for Christmas, some family friend of ours decided to give us this particular scooter toy for her, and it was decorated to look like Frozen, Anna and Elsa and all that stuff, and it would play
Copyright
music.
Disney.
It would play music, and it would play "Do You Want to Build a Snowman?" And the problem with this toy was that even when no one was around it, it would play "Do You Want to Build a Snowman?" or at least the very first part of it, all the time. We would be in the other room, and it would just start. It was crazy. Do you want to build a snowman? Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. The instrumental part of it, the piano intro. We ignored that thing for probably 6 months. We would be in the other room. All the kids would be asleep. This toy would play the intro part to Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Over and over and over again, even when no one was around it. It would just play it. It would go off, and we completely ignored it, probably for the better part of 6 months. Kids would be asleep. We would be in bed. We'd be on our phones, or we'd be trying to go to sleep, and this stupid toy would be down the hallway in the living room plane do you want to build a snowman, over and over and over again. Sometimes my wife would get so annoyed with it that she would put the toy out on the front porch, and it would still play over and over again. And not once in those 6 months did we ever think, oh my God, this is probably a ghost trying to communicate. Maybe it's a spirit, maybe it's a dead person, maybe it's a dead child. Nothing. We just assumed, it's just a stupid toy with some faulty batteries. And eventually I got so fed up with it, and you know, the moment just like it kind of dawned on me to go and get a screwdriver and take the batteries out. And I eventually did it. And after that, it never played again.
That's better than taking the batteries out and
it continues to play.
Oh, I know. Oh my God, I hate that.
But at the same time, it was just one of those things where it's like there is a level of paranormal activity that you can tolerate before you start to look for other options. It never occurred to me that it was haunted. Never. And it very well could have been. So that's it for the Enfield haunting.
Okay. You kept that one short and to the point.
Tried to.
Which is good because there's a lot of like little details that you could just go after with that one. And we could make this like way too long of an episode.
Right, but it's like hoax or not hoax. You be the judge.
Yeah. Do your own research, man, for sure. And
it really is one of those where it's like either you believe that the toy is haunted and it's playing because someone's trying to communicate with you, or you believe that the toy is just a piece of shit from China and the batteries need to be taken out. It could go either way.
Yeah.
50-50.
50-50.
Dylan, what's your story?
So I suppose it's time for me to tell you a story.
Probably so.
I'm gonna learn you a little something about a fun little character named Robert the Doll.
Oh, God.
It's time for Robert
There I go
the
with
Doll.
the oh God again.
Yep.
I'm so scared of this. Go ahead.
God. I love Robert the Doll, but I am also genuinely horrified.
Should you ask Robert's permission before we talk about him? Robert,
well,
with all due respect, if you don't mind, we'll be speaking about you.
If you don't mind, Robert, I'm going to tell what I found out about your story. I hope I do it justice and mean this with the utmost respect. So now we're going to get into the story, and I will eventually explain why we just did that. Exactly. Why we asked Robert's permission. So we're gonna start at the beginning of the story, which is in the early 1900s. Robert Eugene Otto, who just went by the name Gene, was given a life-size doll that was made to resemble himself from the family's maid, and apparently the maid was making the doll for Gene and she had gotten fired by the family. So they say that in like basically a fit of rage, she cursed the doll before giving it to Gene so that it would just be doing all sorts of terrible nonsense. Terrible nonsense it did. So Gene named the doll Robert after himself because, you know, he wasn't using the first name.
Right.
And he carried the doll with him like all the time. He just constantly played with him. It was like his best friend, really his only friend, if I remember correctly. He was
like 4, 5, 6, 7.
He was young.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact age. I forgot to make a note of it.
If it's older than 6, I'm just going to go out and say that's weird.
It's weird anyway.
At some point, you got to tell your son that's enough with the doll.
Yeah, but it's weird even if he is under 6 because he would talk to it all the time and he would like sit it down at the dinner table and make a dinner setting for him. And when he talked to the doll, people like in the middle of the night would hear Robert in his room with nobody else talking in 2 distinctly different voices back and forth having a conversation with Robert.
No.
Yeah. And people would be like, hey, what's this boy doing up? And also, is there a weird man in my son's room? And would open the door, and they would find Gene sitting in his bed with Robert the doll at the foot of the bed staring at him, and furniture in the room would be upturned, like thrown around the room, and yeah, in weird places. And he would always say Robert did it.
If I walked into a room and I saw my kid, I love my children, but that would be the last time I'd walk into that room with that kid. I'd be Audi 5000, gone. Sorry.
No.
Sorry. I'll be right back. I'm going to get some milk. Gone.
Yeah. But that milk was in Omaha and had much bigger tits.
That's right. Sorry. Love my children, but I'm not living with some haunted shit.
Oh no, I'm not doing that poltergeist shit. I ain't about that. Okay, so anyway, they would see him all poltergeisted, and of course, you know, Robert did it. It's all Robert's fault.
Robert did it.
And throughout the house, there was a variety of odd occurrences that happened during Robert's stay there. Lights would flicker, the usual kind of haunting things. Then they started finding like a variety of mutilated toys of Robert's. The overturned furniture happened more than once. There was this really creepy one where the parents didn't believe all the like, oh, Robert did it stuff, but then they started reporting that they were hearing Robert giggling, and it was a different giggle than their son's giggle, which is just so weird to me. And he was seen moving his head or arms, stuff would move around, he would like look at things. It's just real creepy. And people had reported from being outside the house and like looking in, and they could see Robert moving in the windows to like different areas in the room and like moving his head around and stuff. Just real creepy stuff.
When are they going to turn this into a movie?
There actually is a Robert the Doll.
Conjuring 4.
No, there is a Robert the Doll movie. It was made in like 2015. I think it was not great.
Wait, is this the one called The Boy with
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's something different.
Because that's the one where the kid is living inside the walls.
Yeah, no, they made an actual Robert the Doll movie just called Robert in 2015. It is an hour and a half, and it has
an aggregate score of 35 on the Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm looking up the score right now.
Certified rotten.
Almost certainly it is. I mean, if you look at the pictures of it...
That sounds horrible.
It's just not good. Like, it doesn't look good. It's got 3.3 out of 10 on IMDb.
Wow, that's almost what I said.
Almost. There we go. Robert, 2015, Rotten Tomatoes. 11% on Rotten Tomatoes.
11%.
11%.
Oh, that looks horrible.
Yeah, it's just not good. So, Robert's probably not happy about that. I'm sorry to Robert that had to be made.
Yeah, we're sorry that this movie does not do you justice.
No, not at all. So anyway, back to the story. Started seeing Robert moving around the house, doing weird spooky shit. And eventually, Jean's parents got sketched the fuck out. And were like, no, we're not having this. We're not dealing with it. So they threw Robert in the attic and called it good. And things actually went back to normal. Like, Jean eventually kind of stopped thinking about Robert, stopped talking about him, was just kind of doing his own thing again. And it looked like everything was okay. The spooky shit pretty much stopped. But when Jean's parents passed away, he inherited the house with his wife. And at that point, that is when Jean went back up to the attic and found Robert chilling in the attic still and brought him back out. And the weird stuff started happening again.
Of course it did.
It's a grown-ass man, and he is still, like, as soon as he finds Robert, he's back to being super attached to it, carrying it everywhere. Like, he's got to make a place for it at the dinner table. It's just...
See, that happens when you don't sit him down at a certain age and say, this is it. You're done with this.
Exactly. Because we're obviously the ones that should be telling you about how to raise your children.
Well, I do have 2 children of my own, so...
Okay.
Makes me an armchair expert.
Okay. Anyway, so he found the doll again, started carrying it around. Spooky stuff was happening again. Not anything super notable at that point, but there have been a couple different articles that I've read about him, and people say that the cause of death for Jean's wife was just listed as insanity, which is spooky.
She was driven insane.
Yeah, by Robert, and just died. Mm-hmm. And it was claimed that Jean died with Robert, like, either by his side or, like, at the foot of the bed staring at him. But here's where the neat stuff starts coming on.
Yes.
Because it wasn't neat enough before. Death was not the end for Robert the Doll. So Robert the Doll now resides in the East Martello Museum in Key West, Florida, where he's on display. Like, you can go visit him, you can see the actual doll, and it is, with all due respect, creepy as hell.
Right.
It's so spooky. For whatever reason, the curse that the maid supposedly put on the doll is still active, and anybody that sees Robert has to be completely respectful. I mean, to the point where they have, like, a tour that takes you to Robert the Doll, and they explain on the tour, like, do not make jokes about Robert, don't be disrespectful to Robert.
Don't provoke him.
Yeah, don't provoke him at all. And you have to, like, ask permission if you want to take pictures with Robert, or at least say, like, I hope you don't mind, I'm going to take your picture now. And there have been reports and, like, videos and pictures of, like, when you say, Robert, is it alright if I take your picture? Like, he'll nod his head yes. Oh, man. It's real spooky. And he's in this big glass box, and the people that work at the museum, when they, like, go to clean or something, they can't be there alone. And they have to always talk to Robert in respectful ways, And when they leave and come back, they'll find Robert in different positions in the box. One day he's on the left, and the next day he's on the right, and he's like sitting in different areas, and it's real spooky. But anyone who has disrespected Robert or provoked him or not even just not asked permission to take a picture, every single time that's happened, within a week, something bad has happened to that person. And it ranges from loss of a job, divorce, injury, death of a family member. So it ranges from real bad to just kind of bad, and but
so I mean, you can put a hex on you, basically.
Exactly. But it's creepy because bad things are going to happen in people's lives, but it's all within a week of being disrespectful to Robert.
And there's letters of people apologizing. Or don't they send candy?
Yeah, they do send candy, because when Gene was a child, when he would feed Robert, they think that he fed him candy, so they think that Robert likes candy. So they'll send in candy and like handwritten apologies asking forgiveness for Robert.
Right.
And if you look at his little enclosure thing, there you can see like the notes that people have written him. They'll put them up sometimes.
Totally believe, 100%.
Oh yeah,
you've got me convinced.
Oh yeah, and you can buy little plush Robert the Dolls, like imitation ones.
No thanks.
I kind of want one, but I also kind of don't.
I don't ever want to be around one.
I kind of want
one. If you buy one, don't ever bring it with you.
I'm going to set it up here. I'm going to hide it in your truck.
Please don't.
I will do that.
No, please don't.
Without a doubt.
And then I'm going to wreck within a week. Thanks a lot.
I mean, hopefully it won't be fatal. That would make for a good final episode, though.
No. Final episode? Really?
I'm just saying, like, we end the episode with, hey, I just want to say, Jake, I got you a gift. You open it up. Oh, my God, it's the Robert the Doll. And then no more episodes after that?
Fade to black. Narration on the screen. Within a week, a horrible accident occurred.
And then pictures
Fade to black. Written and directed by Dick Wolf.
Bum 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 bum.
Don't show me the photo of Annabelle. Don't show me the photo of Robert the Doll. It's with all due respect, Robert.
With
you
all
looked
due respect,
better.
It's real spooky.
It's very spooky. I told you it's very spooky. She's so freaked out right now. It's very spooky.
It is, and there's some people that think that the hair that's on Robert was actually made with Gene's real hair. Or, human hair. Oh my God, Annabelle is like freaking out. She is.
Stop looking at those photos.
She's
Annabelle.
hiding under her shirt and like.
You're gonna see him tonight in your dreams.
Screaming. That was her gagging.
The whole idea of presenting yourself with respect towards a haunted doll or a hexed object. Totally understandable. Totally get that. Like we've said before, we work in the same retail store, and there are at least 2 entities that are haunting the retail store.
I know. It's so
We've
fun.
had people who've seen shadow people. I have heard a woman say hello at 3 o'clock in the morning when there was only me and 2 other men in the store. So I totally understand that. And one of the things that you and I, Dylan, talked about when we first started talking about trying to investigate the beings or the ghosts that are living inside of our store, I said we must be respectful to them.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would be so easy for them to mess with us. It would just be so easy.
And then we could just turn into a Zach Baggins.
Yeah, and then we don't want to be a douchebaggins about it.
Exactly.
I mean, there's heavy equipment all over the store. There's the forklift, and there's, chemicals, and there's just boxes up on top of shelves. They could mess with this in any number of ways.
What is OSHA going to do to a ghost?
Exactly. How are we going to report this? What's the incident report going to say? I was on a ladder and I was pushed over by an entity. A shadow person pushed me over. So, it's so important, I would think, to be very respectful. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure that...
To any sort of spirit. Like, I went to a haunted hotel, and again, we'll get into that on a later episode. But before we did anything with any sort of Ouija board, yes, I used one. Get into more details later.
I told you not to do that.
You told me not to. But we started everything with, we don't mean to seem insulting. We're only here to learn and to be respectful. And that's really important, because the last thing you want is an omnipotent energy being mad at you.
Absolutely. Maybe not omnipotent, but pretty omnipotent.
Close
to. At least
to.
some powerful.
Yeah, very powerful.
Exactly. What we're really hoping is that eventually we're going to be able to connect with a paranormal society here in San Antonio and be able to go on some ghost adventures of our own, or some haunted ghost tours.
I would absolutely love to, because I've stayed in one haunted hotel. I really want to stay in more. I love being at hotels anyway, but like haunted hotels, I would love to spend the night at more.
I don't know if I could.
Oh, come on, you totally could.
Did you sleep with the lights on?
No.
Any of the lights?
No.
Not even the bathroom light?
No.
You didn't sleep with any lights on. How'd you manage that?
We didn't sleep with any of the lights on. There was a couple people in our rooms.
Did the lights flicker on and off?
The bathroom light did. and the bathroom door opened in front of one of our friends, like in the middle of the night.
Not good.
Not good. Super cool.
It'd be so awkward. You're in there going to the bathroom and the door opens.
Yep.
It opens up. Like, that's just super awkward. But like, look, with all due respect, I'm about to use the bathroom. I'm going to be in here between 7 and 15 minutes. And I need you to just leave me alone at this moment, with all due respect.
You can haunt me when I get back into bed, but please let me have a moment.
Yes, please let me have a moment.
Let me have my moment.
That was a great story.
Yes. As was yours.
Thank you.
I love these stories.
Yeah.
Can't wait to tell more.
Tell us about our social media, because I'm horrible at it.
You're really bad at it.
I'm so old that I don't remember.
Yeah, he is. He's just old as dirt. It's horrible. Anyway, you can find us on Instagram at Too Scared Podcast. Find us on Facebook, Too Scared to Sleep Podcast, I think. Wow, now I'm old and bad.
It's up to you.
No, okay. You can find us on Instagram at Too Scared Podcast. We also have Facebook, Too Scared to Sleep. We're getting a YouTube channel set up. Hopefully by the time that you hear this, we'll already have it.
Yeah, it'll be Too Scared Podcast, since it's all through Gmail.
Yeah.
And YouTube.
We have an email where you can email us if you want to talk to us about stories or meeting up, or you want to send us hate mail. Please don't send us hate mail.
You can DM us anywhere.
Yeah, you can DM
Slide
us.
into our DMs, please.
Yes, please. We are very lonely. We only have each other. Annabelle.
Yes, that's true.
So you can follow us, like us, listen to us at some places.
Tell us your stories.
Tell us your stories, please.
Yes, absolutely.
And we're going to make a post on Instagram and maybe on Facebook letting you know where you can stream our podcast once we get those posted.
We're so close. By the time you've heard this, we've already published 3 episodes, and we just want to keep cranking out content for you guys.
We really do, and we're a little slow in the beginning.
But promise we'll get better.
Yeah, we're learning. Please keep listening to us, and then in a couple episodes, we can laugh at the
amateur.
At how bad we are in the beginning.
Yes. Oh man, we were so bad.
Ha.
Listen to the way you talk.
Wow, what a bunch of losers.
What was wrong with your voice?
Oh man, I have a face for radio.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's not true.
That's true.
All right. Well, we hope that you have enjoyed our stories. And again, we're so grateful you're listening. Remember to follow us on all of our social media. And just want to say good night from everybody. And we hope that we have left you too scared to sleep.